My role is with the placements. I don't know that it's my main thing, but it's something that's important because some people have been at their placements for several weeks and I only had one weekly reflection. And the other one, someone else did load one, but it loaded up blank, so that person I sent a message to. Everybody has a lot of good reasons. I'm not asking for them.
I have them, but I just printed them out and they're in my room.
Are they filled out?
Yeah, they're filled out. I just forgot.
All right, so I don't know what to do because honestly, I should get them at the end of every week that you're at your place. So Casey and I were talking at 7:30 in the morning. And by talking, I mean messaging on Teams. And I don't know if there's something in the universe, but I woke up and I was like, I'm gonna suspend placements if I don't get my weekly reports. And Casey's like, please don't do that. And I'm like, I can. I don't know, I swear it's like a moon phase. But one of the components of the placement is to get feedback each week. So people that aren't doing it aren't getting the feedback, but I'm hearing about people. And there's that, like that reflection provides an opportunity for the teachers who maybe don't have a lot of training and being a mentor to teachers to say, oh, wow, you have a really accurate view of yourself. Or, you know, you kind of disappear or you're not really on time or you've missed a lot. Maybe we could look at, you know, what's going on if this is really what you want to do. Is there anything we can help you with, whatever. But if we don't do that weekly thing, then I just hear about this person wore this person smelled like this person. And it's like, that is not what I want to do in my job. I just feel like if you're working at a place, you need to have, and I know a lot of people have a problem talking to people because it's like, it's uncomfortable and people are busy when you're in there. But you need to have a way, this form does give a way for them to provide feedback, but also for you to just look at yourself and say, you know what, I could probably be more engaged. I could probably do this. I could probably do that, right? Now, I don't even know, did the teachers even read it? Okay, so I have one, but the teacher didn't look at it. So it's okay, this is a process. She said I could share it, and I am gonna share it, just because sometimes people don't do things because they're overthinking what I want. Like I want some amazing, like, thing that's got gold lights coming off of it, you know, and stars shimmering down on it, and hallelujah comes out of it when you turn it in. So I'm gonna show you one that I think is pretty good, and just like talk that through. But I also decided, because Casey said I couldn't just, she really didn't want me to suspend everybody's placement if they hadn't turned it in. And I probably wouldn't have anyway. I'm being mean to, I'm making myself out like I'm real mean. But we decided to have the teachers fill one out, the top part out for each person, just so that someone gets feedback. Because that's why we're doing this. So by leaving it in everybody's hands, if that doesn't get followed through on and no one gets feedback, then a big part of what we're supposed to be learning just gets lost. And there's a lot of good reasons that it's not done. So I'm not going to say that. A lot of people have been sick. A lot of people have had personal things happen to them. So I'm really not judging, but I'm saying we got to change it. So we got to make sure that it changes going forward. All right, so I'm going to just show you this one example so that you at least have it. I'm assuming everyone, well, I know I saw a couple people write comments, so I'm assuming you can hear me. But let me just make sure. And if you guys don't mind, I'm of course not going to try to, you know, you'll have to look behind. Or if you have your laptop, just getting it set up. But a lot of times too, if you find out that I send back to you, oh, what you uploaded is blank, what usually happens, and this totally happens, and it happened, I was doing something with a student and it was like driving me crazy. I'm like, why do you keep turning in blank papers? You're killing me. And it turns out if you're turning things in and you don't save it, especially if you're doing it on Teams, it depends on where you're saving your stuff. And too many people don't save their documents. and their assignments under, so that God forbid something doesn't save, you really don't want to have to just redo everything because you saved nothing. But what happens is that this person kept doing the assignment. I didn't get to grading it because I thought it was done sitting there waiting for me. And every time she saved over it. So she ended up with one assignment I could grade. Guess what? I still had to have her do the other ones. It's true. But it made me realize, that's why I keep telling people to save it like week 1 reflection. Save as, that's the thing. If you don't save as, like if I ever send you by accident somebody else's reflection, it's because I saved everything under, I didn't save it under their name. I saved it as whatever the assignment was. And that's on me and not okay, but it's also how it happens. And it's very easy to happen if you're rushing. So you really want to save it week as, I would usually put the person's last name, you know, regular week 1, regular week 2. Just so like if I don't find it or I can't find it or you thought you uploaded it and guess what? Brightspace didn't agree, then you have it. And I'm not that professor that's gonna be like, nope, not gonna take it. Now, if you always have that problem and I always have it say you up, you know, and it's never there, then we're gonna have a problem. But generally, we're just gonna resubmit it. All right, let me show you this one thing just so we have an example to look at. And it may turn out that I say there's some things that could be done differently, that's okay. I just have to get it ready so I'm not showing everybody's personal information. All right, so the big thing, what I would do if it were me, is, and I would probably forget to do it, by the way, but maybe Casey will decide to keep some in the room after a discussion, is I would take that form with me every week. I'd try to fill it out when I'm there. Because a lot of it, it's not going to take you more than one time. So if you're going twice a week, all you have to do then on the second time is have them sign it. All right, so I'm showing you Cassandra's. She said it was okay. Now, already, I know that there's one component she didn't do, which I'm thinking I should just change it because it's like I think it might be a barrier for some people in terms of getting it done. And that is that I wanted you to show it to the teachers that you're working with before you handed it in. But I think maybe the first week people are like, I'll do it on Monday, right? And then that doesn't happen because life happens. And so it never ends up happening and then it happens, you know what I mean? And so I think we need to just turn it in. And I'll make sure that the teachers agree, which is too bad, but that's okay. We can always, some semesters it might work out differently, but honestly, since I started doing this, it's never worked out perfectly. And I'm not a big person on threats. Like that to me is not my thing. Like people just laugh, like, really? You're gonna do that? And I'm like, yeah, you don't think so? And I'm like, okay, maybe not. I don't know. But don't make me do that, okay? Because I'm feeling like I might need to. All right, so Cassandra filled this out for 9/26 and 9/28, the 2 days she went. And that was a total of 6 hours. What do you do, like, what are your hours, like 9 to 12 or something, or?
10 to 1.
10 to 1, all right. That's fine, so she has 10 to 1 on 2 different days. That's all it asks, because what I'm trying to figure out is also to keep track of how close everybody is to that 20 hours. And then you're supposed to like say to yourself how, you're supposed to grade yourself. And it says, it's easy, right? And sometimes I think these are very like almost meaningless, but not quite, right? So, because I hate those early week reports where the teachers are like S minus, whatever, like whatever that means. But this is S plus, S, NA, or NW. So I'm not asking you to be like, I was an A, or I was like a C, right? S plus is like pretty good, like we're good to go, I got this down. S is like, it was okay, because a lot of us, you're doing okay with it, right? Now, then if it needs work, I mean, I'm not expecting all 10 of these, I think there's 11, to need work. Maybe there's one thing. Sometimes people, like for me, I've been sick a lot. If I was going to the center, they'd be like, your attendance might need some work. If you come in and you always are standing talking to the teachers, They might like you to be more engaged with the children, but you might be able to still say satisfactory, but then in the comments, you might say, I should get down on the floor more to play with the children. You don't even have to say needs work, although you could, right? So we have appropriate dress. If someone was like, you really can't wear 6-inch heels, you could write, I'm gonna make sure I follow the policy. I can tell you this, even if you don't write it, it's likely I know. And I don't wanna know. I don't. I don't wanna know. Punctuality, are you on time? I haven't heard too much about anybody not being on time. I have had semesters where I had a student, he'd go to the bathroom, he'd never come back. Or he'd be gone like 30 minutes, 35 minutes, he's there for 2 hours. It's like, this is not gonna work. Initiative, this is, there's a fine line where they're like, yeah, she's taking initiative, maybe she's working with the kids or whatever, to, yeah, she totally upended something, right? It's a fine line. Initiative now would be like, you saw that the table was messy, you cleaned it up. You saw that a child wanted a book to be read, you read it to them. That kind of stuff. Responsibility. What would be examples of how you demonstrate responsibility at the center? Maybe bring in your book, bring in your coat. I guess just showing up on time as you're supposed to. Does anybody have specific responsibilities when you're there? Or is it pretty laid back? It's kind of laid back. All right. So there was one student, it's the same student, I won't name him. He's not here anymore. But he would go in and he would roughhouse and freak the teachers out. Partially, I think it was a gender thing, but I wasn't there. So they would say maybe that wasn't responsible, so they didn't get hurt. All right. So enthusiasm. I don't know, if I had to come in at 7:30 in the morning, my enthusiasm is probably not gonna be that great. But S is like, it's like you gotta see, it's passable, right? It's good, we're good. If you come in and you're like, I have a hangover, I don't wanna be here, I hate this. That's not good. You need to do some needs work. You could even maybe put responsibility, you feel like that's not applicable, I don't know. Communication is gonna be communicating with children, communicating with the other teachers. Probably you aren't communicating with the parents because that's probably not your role. But do you speak to people when you need to? How do you communicate with the children? And this is a good opportunity to try sometimes it's hard to get that teacher talk down so that it doesn't feel uncomfortable. So take advantage of it. And if you're having a hard time getting there, just start by reading a book with a child, because for me, that always made it easier to just talk to kids. And then engagement, are you engaged or are you looking at your clock? Are you that student that used to go in the closet and look at the phone? Please don't be that student, because I will know 5 minutes after you leave. And I have not had that report, so thank you. Do you seem like you want to be there? Does this seem like, you're enjoying it, being with the children? And that doesn't mean you have to feel like that all the time. Like if I had to go work at the childcare today, and I don't know that I would try to pretend to have joy from it because I'm 53 years old or almost, and I need to suck it up, right? But I get that you might be staying up really late, you might have shit going on, but we usually do have to act as if and be professional, and then that interaction with staff. Okay, so you see that Cassandra did say she arrived a little late on the first day, and then you have a couple S's. Is that something you think you're working on, or is it just like some people just are quiet and have a hard time with some of that? Where do you feel like you're at with it?
Yeah, I think I tend to be quiet, but also combined with it being the first day, also be more quiet and trying to figure out all the kids' names and stuff.
Mm-hmm. So I haven't looked at the ones that are from later weeks. So, some of the things that you have S's, you may decide that you have a personal goal to maybe try to engage more. We have a class, if you're doing the AAS degree, that you're gonna have, we're gonna set goals. Like if you are really quiet, then we're gonna make goals for, leading conversations with children. Maybe if something's bothering you about how something's going on in class, we might talk through how to ask the teacher something about it, that kind of stuff. But it's like little stuff, and that's one of our final classes, and there's 120 hours in that one. So this is really just low key, a chance to look at, you know, how many classes are you, how many times are you missing? How many times are you maybe not able to really participate because of the way you dressed, if that's an issue? Is there something else going on, et cetera. And that, I'm saying all those things without anybody in mind. Let's remember that we have 20 people in here, and I had 1. So I'm not naming names, and I'm not picking on anybody. I'm saying as a whole, and actually I've heard a lot of good things about people, so don't go worrying. But this, by not having this, if there's just this little thing that is a problem, then we can't take care of it. And it's like 3 weeks later, it's kind of late to be like, well, the first week, you know, I don't want to deal with stuff like that. I want to like have you grow throughout it. And when we keep turning it in late just to check off like that you met the requirements, there's no learning really that's, it's called scaffolding. So Vygotsky would say, yes, you did have a learning experience because you got to go there. But if you turn this in and then we talk about it, we could scaffold it out to a better learning, a greater learning experience. So I just want us to be able to all learn from each other. We also have people that haven't started yet. So they can hear some of this, and guess what? You were the guinea pigs. They are gonna be like, I'm getting that in. She said she might not, she might suspend the thing. I'm gonna turn that in first thing. Faith will turn it in. I'm not picking on you, but I do know you will turn it in. So you see what I'm saying? Like, it's okay that we didn't do it right yet, but now we got to do it, or I'm really gonna lose my don't want me to do that. So, okay, let's look at this. Sometimes I don't think it's the top part that keeps people, they're like, I don't know what to write. Okay, if you're there for 4 hours or whatever, you can write any 5-minute interaction. You got a lot of times you can write about. And I'm probably, most of the time, I'm not gonna judge it, right? So let's just see what's here. It says, I'm working with the pre-K group. When I arrive, the children are playing in the outside play area. That's outside. Look, I can't even process it. That's how much colder it is. I walked around and observed the different toys that they're playing with, and I ended up spending the majority of time with a few girls looking for worms by digging in the wood chips. Did they find any?
Yeah.
They do a lot.
See, I'm only gonna touch worms if I have my gardening gloves on. Anyway.
I mean, one got dropped in my shoe this morning.
While doing so, I was able to encourage them to help one another, as few were getting upset that they had difficulty finding any. That's kind of cool. While others seemed to have more success. I also encouraged the children to ask one another for a turn. And in pre-K, we can be sharing, right? Because it's toddlers that are like, mine, mine, mine. But if there's a ton of people interested, we could also choose to see if there's more we could bring out. Once it was time to clean up and go inside, I encouraged a few of them to clean up by asking to show me where toys went, or remind them that they got a stick for cleaning up the toys. What's that about? They get a stick?
Oh, sticker.
Like a sticker?
The sticker. Did I write stick on that?
You wrote a stick, but
That's okay.
yeah, I know what you're talking about. I'm not a big sticker person, but Alana already knows that. She says I have to do it. I'm like, all right.
They're addicted to them.
What?
They're addicted to them.
I know.
They love the
I'm
little
really-
temporary tattoos too.
Well, that's fine. You know what? If it makes them happy.
The little tattoo ones are if they poop.
I mean, the tattoos are kind of cute.
Yeah.
I have a picture of my daughter Georgia with her tattoos all the way up her arm, the fake ones, and it's hilarious. And she's like 6. She does not end up getting any tattoos, surprisingly. All right, so that's an absolutely great interaction. You might also decide that at least the first week, I'm gonna write about an interaction I observed. It doesn't have to be one you participated in, but I do like to hear how your actual interactions go. Sometimes it's good to put one that you're not sure if you did the right thing or not. And then it gives us an extra opportunity for learning in here too, because we can be like, you know, could we have done anything different? All right, and then this is sometimes describe at least one interaction you observed that caught your attention, or just describe. Why does it say it twice? I don't know. Oh, we have it on here twice, that's fine. All right, and then what part of the project have you worked on this week? I really liked that Cassandra put, I picked 3 students, complete a running record on. I mean, that's good. That's a good answer. Because a lot of people be like, I didn't do any of that. But you could say you did that even if you didn't, but I do believe you did. And then what questions do you have for the teachers or Anna? There are gonna be some of you that are gonna have 20 questions on here every week. I'd really rather have those as they occur instead of later on. If you are uncomfortable having it on there, I mean, one of the reasons I do think it's good to have this on here and show the people that you're working with, then they can, sometimes it's a reminder that maybe they're coming off in a way they don't mean to, or they can explain to you why they think it's okay what they did, whatever. But if you really don't feel comfortable putting it on there, you don't have to. You can, but you should bring it here, which some of you have. All right, so one of the things she asks is, why are the negative behaviors children display discussed aloud among the teachers during playtime? Now, one of the reasons I'd love it if someone saw this is because they shouldn't be doing it. And you didn't have to go up to that. Like, I do have someone in another class that she's not in my class. She'll go up and be like, you're not supposed to do that. Please don't do that. You're not supposed to be doing that. The regs say, okay, like, we're guests. But this asks a really good question. What if the kids hear them, right? That's not good. And it might be just one of those things where if they read that, they'd be like, I didn't realize. They might just, you know, when you're in the moment and you don't even realize it's coming out of your mouth. So if I see that from a student that's in my class, working in my class and supposed to be learning from me, maybe I'll make a different choice. So to me, it's important for both of you, both sides, in my opinion. And then, are there certain children I should focus on? And I don't think there are. There's
always like a few standout kids.
I mean, if a teacher asks you to sit with one kid over another, you can do that, but I wouldn't say that you need to. In the next class you take, one of the next classes you take, infants and toddlers, you have to do like a portfolio. And so you might end up focusing on a few of the children in the class instead of, this is much more generalized. So, and we are doing like 3 observations, but it can be anybody. It doesn't have to be anything formal. But if a teacher said, I'm really having kind of a hard time with this child today, would you mind sitting with them? Then I would do that. But in general, it's not really necessary. All right. Definitely you don't want to be distracting the teachers to such an extent that they aren't paying attention to the children. So, all right, any questions about that? So what's supposed to happen is after you fill this out, and it can be in pencil, you show it to the teachers you're working with, and then they just sign it. But the idea is if they see that you came in late every day and you put S+, they might be like, well, I did notice that maybe you haven't been feeling well and you haven't been punched. I'd like you to know that people know if you aren't reflecting accurately what's going on, So that's the only benefit to that. And honestly, sometimes, at least for me, some of us are going to be harder on ourselves no matter what. No one is going to be harder than we are on ourselves. And then there's going to be people that are like, I did great. And the teacher's like, what? And then there's a lot in between. And a lot in between. It's usually not so extreme. But it's good practice to kind of be, because when you are a teacher, you aren't going to have someone looking over your shoulder all the time. You might have a co-teacher, you might have a couple of people who come in and out of the room, but we can become very siloed as teachers and kind of, if we aren't in a good reflective practice and able to call ourselves out on things, oh, I wish I'd done that better or whatever, then, that's just going to mean you're not going to become as good as you want to be. And I mean that kind of like each day should be a fresh start. We all have days that aren't that great. And I always try to, if I have a day where students don't do very well, or they got on my nerves in a big way, I'm thinking more when I used to teach reading, and I told them they had to leave because no one could get anything done. I always told them you come back and have a fresh start. right? So that's kind of how I think about it, is if I have a day where I'm teaching and I wish I'd done better, then I just try to do better the next time. But I gotta have some way that I reflect on what I did and how it may have impacted people. And we do impact the children because they are watching everything. And either we impact them by saying things we shouldn't have, or we impact them by not interacting with them because we're too busy doing whatever we wanna be doing. And that can go for anybody. So I think one of the benefits of having a college-based childcare center is that I always have amazing students being like, why are they doing this? Should they really be doing this? Now, we learn how to word that in a way that doesn't cause World War III, right? And we also learn how easy it is to make mistakes like that, because we're just human living, and it's hard to be human these days. So, anybody got questions? There are a bunch of you, and Jahara, I just have to do yours because somehow last night I was going through stuff and I realized you were the last one that I did not follow through, but everybody else should have Teams messages to arrange your time. So make sure you get back to Casey if you were waiting for that. That did happen. Most of you that I know sort of when some people haven't started, but some of you did start. So I would be I know you just started this week, right? So you should turn one in at the end of the week. I am going in and putting zeros if I know you've been going for a couple weeks. I have to go back in and check dates based on that thread with Casey, just so that it's accurate, because I wasn't feeling good and the wedding and yada yada, but now I need to see where we are and see how far we can go. So I gotta follow through on that, and I'm gonna put those zeros as placeholders, and they need to be done. They just need to be. And they should be prioritized. It could even be that 10 minutes before your last part of the day happens of the week, you could fill it out and show it to them. It really could. Now, I'm also thinking they're gonna fill out a similar thing with just the chart. So I'm also okay with it if you just turn them in. And don't worry about getting it signed. Okay, I just want them in. And if I don't get, everybody's in that has already been doing it for a couple of weeks now, then I'm gonna have to think about if we need to, okay, you can't go in again until I get them. But I'm not gonna do that yet. So just please don't make me do that, because it's also a lot of work for me. And Casey's gonna be so annoyed because she's gonna have to reschedule all those hours. Don't do that. All right.
Casey will fight.
What?
Casey will fight.
Let's not do that to Casey. Let's not do that to me. All right. Now, on a better note, I've heard some really good things. I have heard a lot of good things. I've heard people getting down on the floor and talking to the children, and showing up on time, doing good stuff. So let's make us, our program, look good, and let's help support the Child Care Center. Tomorrow, I'm gonna be in the center at 10:30 for a high school group that's coming in. I was going to give them a tour, but then Casey was like, I'm gonna give a break, so I have someone else do something, and then I'll do the tour. So I'm gonna get a little training, because it has been since before the pandemic, since I've gone on a tour with Casey. And then some open house, I have to give like 3 tours, because Casey has to man a table at our open house. So you may see me tomorrow morning if you are doing any of your time tomorrow morning. I think that Heidi or Alana is gonna fill out the assessment things, and then I think Casey's gonna scan them for me. I think we decided to have them go to me because we didn't want to then wait for you guys to turn them in. Okay, so we may be touching base next week. I might do it individually depending on if there's anything that I think we need to talk about individually, but otherwise, I would like to hear about anything, if you had a really interesting interaction or something you think you're definitely going to write about or something you were wondering about, I would love to hear about that. Does anybody have any examples? All right, hopefully that took some of the mystery out of it. Okay. I brought some extra forms in case, you know, it's a barrier, like you think I'm gonna get it printed and then you don't get them printed. Totally get that too. And I also brought something for observation sometimes I use. That's a 2-column observation, just in case that makes things easier for people. But if you're not here, you're not gonna get them. So who would like some printed weekly reflections? Anybody? You're typing yours, right? First.